My name is Helena and I live in Hertfordshire. I'm from Sweden originally, and I was diagnosed with MS in 2007. From day to day with MS, I mostly struggle with fatigue and some cognition issues that's sort of been brought on by the fatigue. Sometimes when it's colder weather, I get a bit pins and needles and sort of crampy feelings in my foot. But I would say the fatigue is probably the thing that I struggle with the most. So I started baking a few years ago, and quite often people ask me, like, how can you be baking if you're really fatigued and if you're really tired? But I find that with the baking, when I'm really struggling with my cognition and things, when I do the baking, I can really focus on just one thing, and it sort of makes me go into a happy place or like a little bubble where I just do my thing. And it's one task to focus on. So you read your recipe and you follow those instructions and you do the thing, which makes me feel like I'm in charge, if that makes sense, instead of things just being slightly chaotic around me. So I've read a lot of things that says that to try and learn new things is the way to keep your brain going. There's always this whole use it or you lose it thing. So I like doing a lot of exercise. So I go out running and I do HIIT classes and things like that, Zumba. But I think like for brain training, it's good to learn new things. So I started trying to do weird things with baking that I didn't know before, like certain techniques, again, I don't know, messy with doing things like meringues or breads and things that I've never tried before, sourdough, and it can be quite therapeutic when you do, especially bread making, like when you knead a bread, that sort of feeling can be almost like I would imagine people doing Tai Chi or something. It's the movements and it kind of the repetitiveness of it and the focus. And I think it doesn't have to be baking. It could be learning to play an instrument or doing exercise for that matter as well. Sewing, painting, singing, any new thing could be like really good and useful to keep that brain going. So for somebody who's just been diagnosed with MS, I would say diagnoses can be horrible when you get them, but it all can also be a bit of a relief because you might be really worried beforehand and you didn't know what was going on and what was happening to your body and what could it be. So when you've just been diagnosed, you have so many questions and so many things, and sometimes you feel like, oh gosh, this is going to change my life. And it will probably, but it doesn't always have to be for the worse. I would say that when I was diagnosed, it sort of made me get a bit of a kick up the backside to think about things, and I changed some bits and I learned some new things. And you can still get places, you just might have to take different routes to get there. But when you're newly diagnosed, just don't forget that you're still you. It hasn't changed just because you've been given a diagnosis.